Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers Podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I am James.
And this is the Instinctive Influencers Podcast. Welcome back to another great and fun-filled episode where we're going to talk instinctive influencer stuff, actually leadership stuff that we have coined as instinctive influence because that's kind of what, in a sense, it's where we've kind of gone with the idea with this is it is leadership, leadership tools, being a good follower at the same time. But we try to teach stuff to people or just even go over stuff that we're learning as we speak, on how to be better at being a leader, almost in a sense where it's instinctive. Like, oh, I know how to do that, or I know how to work on that, or, I know how to increase that capability. Like to me, it's, and you see it everywhere. James, we both listen to podcasts, we both listen to audiobooks, we both read, we both are going to school, and it's those things that we're gaining from that's allowing us to continue on and do the things we want to be passionate about. Like one day, the goal is first to get your hat so it's not as crooked compared to your eyes on your. No, I was looking, I was like, man, why is this space a little bit more on one side than the other, with the glasses? And it looks like, because you do have transition lenses, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I got the little light coming in.
Yeah, I was like, man, all of a sudden now he's going to have just sunglasses on. But the goal is for you and I both, like once we retire, you're down the road, I'm not far behind you. We've both talked about becoming teachers, and it's funny. It's not like you make a lot of money being a teacher, like you make enough to survive in a sense, but I think it's more to the passion of teaching others. And I think we gained it from the same place. Like I didn't want to be a teacher before I was an instructor. Now,
me either. No.
It's like, but now it's like, I had this conversation the other day with one of the other sergeant majors here in the in my brigade, who was also an instructor at the same course that you and I were a part of, that you are now. She said to me, she's like, that was the most fun I ever had in the Army. Like having that position, it was just, there was something about it and the benefit. And she's like, I want to, over here at Fort Stewart, she wants to be the commandant for theirs one day. And I'm like, go for it, kid. Like, go after it. Like, it's awesome. But,
go for it, kid.
Hey, we're back on another episode. Before we get into that episode, we've discussed quite a few things. We talk about like the things that are going on in our lives at work and whatnot. And you mentioned something I thought it's kind of like, it's kind of reflecting back on things, and it's looking at the processes that our organizations go through, where it's funny. We've talked about it multiple times now, but it's like we were once in this location of doing things, and then we've kind of slowly turned and we came down to this location, and now at your organization, you're back up here.
Full circle.
Rick Williams loves to say it. He calls it the wagon wheel.
Yeah.
Right? It's the wagon wheel. We enjoyed the seeing of it. It's funny because you were there when it was up here, and and as you left, it was transitioning and going down to here, and then now you're back, and it's like we're right back where we were.
Yeah, it is definitely. I'm pretty much back to the same kind of environment. Some of the same. So as you made that transition, some of the stuff that came out of the curriculum, right, has now started coming back, and I've been the one helping to introduce it with my team to the curriculum. So it's like, it's been what did Sergeant Major you say? Self-licking ice cream cone.
Self-licking ice cream cone. Yeah, and I brought that up because the way I see today's show going, I don't think it's going to be as long as some of our other shows, really. The content that I actually provided you, it's on one piece of paper, because I think our discussion points on it are going to be what's most important. But I look at it as you kind of had come into it and you're changing the environment, and you had to kind of rebuild a high performance team. I'm trying to do that where I'm at. Like I have all my, as of Tuesday, all of my first sergeants will be brand new to my organization since January. So
Wow. I mean, that's a
yeah,
good thing, though. That's a good thing.
no, it is. There's a lot of change, and we got a lot of change coming because we got commanders that will be changing out over the next month and a half. So and that doesn't mean we're going to stop working. We're going to stop doing the things we're doing. It's change that's happening, and I think it's a lot the same, but also different from our civilian counterparts or civilian organizations that tend to they have turnover, right? Like a lot of times you'll see if an organization people don't like the organization they're working for, their turnover is high. Normally, when people like it there and they enjoy the benefits or the feeling they get from it, they feel the circle of safety being part of that high performance team, they stay there forever, right? They just stay in. And I think some of it comes also as part of the whole the idea that if you're taking care of me, I'm going to take care of you. I think we're going to get into that. I think we're going to get into that a little bit.
I think what's good about with that kind of changeover to it is, when you got there, right, you took over, that's a culture, but that's not culture you created at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get turnover and new people come in, right, and you're there, you're kind of creating the culture based off your commander's intent and your vision. So you get all the way back here, and now it's your culture that you develop. The guy that replaces you or gal that replaces you now has to start that process again of kind of cultivating their own culture within the organization. So the turnover thing it's interesting. Not unfortunately, but so for where I've been, all the key leaders that work for me, they've all been the same the whole time, pretty much. One has changed out. So it's a little different challenge to bring my influence in because I still had an organization. It was like, well, this is how we've been doing it. Then I'm like, well, this is how I kind of envisioned doing it. And then you listen to them, get their feedback, and kind of set our goals. And then, of course, sprinkle in, oh, you're going to add this curriculum also. So it's been a challenging thing. A lot of thought into how to build this team to work for me, to work for the organization, and to perform at a high level in a heavy, fast tempo organization.
And so I know you well enough, James, that I know you seek out feedback, you seek out information from people you trust. But how much of this trying to rebuild this team and not really rebuild it, but change the directions of it, how much time do you think you spent in self-reflection, literal or just silent reflection, where it's just you in your head and you're like, okay, I know we can do this. How do I get there? How often have you done that?
Especially at the beginning, I'm gonna tell you for probably the first, I don't know, 30 to 45 days, I would come in well ahead of when I needed to be there and just sit in my office with a little music on and think about the things we were trying to accomplish and how we were going to get there. And then you had the same office. You're kind of isolated when the civilians go home for the day.
Oh, yeah.
So you're kind of out there by yourself. And those were great opportunities because, they leave at 3. I'm not going to leave till 5:30. Good opportunities to do some reflection on the mission. Good opportunities to pull in individuals and say, hey, let's talk about this task we're trying and how we're going to get there. What's our path? What's our road? Like we say all the time, the road to war. What's the road to war? What's the road to that task being accomplished? So, but I did spend quite a bit of time in the office alone. I'm also known for being, I could be standing there and all of a sudden in my own head. So,
yeah, no, and that's why I asked, because I know the type of person you are, that you're not gonna you're not gonna just gonna allow things be. As we talked in the last episode, just because they are, that's how we do it type thing. You're not going to allow that. Done it. Yeah. So, and that's why I asked that. Actually, I'm drawing it. I'm actually finishing labeling it right now. Make sure I probably spelt something wrong and somebody's going to point it out. And that's why I'm going to put up my own chart after I've finished recording. But it's funny. I look at it this way.
Yeah.
So So when it comes to the topic we're going to talk about today, we talk about building high performance teams. Do we want the wagon wheel side, where it's just a continuous wagon wheel circle? Do we want to continue in the same cycles as always? Or do we want the road to war path, right? The idea that we're starting at one point and we're increasing our abilities over time. And I want to kind of take it that direction. It's crazy because a lot of this came to me as I was sitting here just talking to you. I was like, my brain, like I was thinking like, wow, like he made sense. Road to war. We use that road to war thing for all kinds of things, like in like project management, right? Like as non-commissioned officers or officers or warrant officers within our organizations, we use the road to war format to kind of explain, hey, this is where we are, this is where we want to be. We don't use the wagon wheel format to say, this is where we are, this is where we want to be. Because then if that's a fact, then we want to stay the same.
Yeah, we're just going to say that.
Exactly.
And I think it's more of a long-term with what we were talking about, like our experience. It's a long-term thing, right? Like this is where we were in 2018 when you left. And then, 19, 20, COVID, 22, 23, 24, and I'm back to where you left it in 18. So it's, and then the irony, as we brought up last episode, is you took things out of the curriculum and I put them back in the curriculum now. Not my own doing. It's because I was told to put it in there, but
Well, in the overtime thing, and I think that's part of, I don't feel like the wagon wheel process of adding things back into it. I think that came out of like, hey, we realized we're missing the mark in X for leaders, right? Do I think land navigation is the most important thing that we teach there? No. Do I think CIT, I think they call it now? Conduct individual training is the most important thing we teach there? No. It's the understanding of knowing how to do things, how to learn in a scenario maybe where either you're an expert and now you're helping somebody else, or you have no idea what's going on. And now you have to learn a complete different process that you never got to. Like, I like that idea. And I like that idea because it also helps us engage the notion of building high performance teams. Today's episode is about building high performance teams. And we're going to hit upon 3 major areas in building high performance teams. But we can talk about that all day long of like, okay, this is what I see of what that means, and we may see it as one thing, and somebody who's listening right now may say, oh, no, well, I see it this way. And that's the beauty of doing a show like this too. And then having the interaction with the audience, right? That they can reach out to us. Like, I don't know how many times like somebody's reached out to me just on the side. It was like, hey, like legit, one of the biggest things that I've got in the most recent past was, when are y'all starting to record again? And I was like, don't worry about it. We're going to get more out there. They're like, oh, I love listening to you, but I've listened to all your episodes. I don't have any more. I'm like,
I've been getting it from the Bearded Ninja.
Have you?
And Fermi, yes.
Well, I miss the Bearded Ninja. I can't wait to get back there. Actually, I miss Fermi too. Like I think I'm gonna say, I hope he listens to this episode. Look at you. Quick headphone change. What happened there? Was it just,
we were getting uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's funny. The ones I have on are the ones I've been using since day one. I bought new ones. I have 4 brand new pair in my bin down. I have a plastic bin down here that has like all the microphones, wires, everything. I still can't bring myself to using them because I love these ones. I love how they feel in my ears. It's just, the cushion. Yeah. No, I was getting at the point that I was talking about Firm. I hope he hears this. I hope he listens to this one, and he's, because I'm going to say it out loud so other people can hear it. He had said something to me once. He's like, when we were working together, I felt a certain way about you, and I may have said things or acted a certain way. He's like, but I want you to know now. And he literally said this to me in person. This is, I think it was the episode. He didn't say it on the episode, but he said it like it's just me and him talking in his office. And he said, I felt a certain way about you then. He's like, but I feel this way about you now. Like he opened up to me, and I was like, bro, like that felt so good to know. And I feel that way a lot of people. And in his same case, like I have so much respect for him and what he's doing now, and in the job that he's in, and like it's it's on a personal level to me of what he's doing for the children that he works with.
Yeah.
It's like a huge, huge thing that I'm like super proud of him, and grateful at the same time, because he's working with a certain type of individual that needs people who care and love them to kind of get them to a certain place. And it's just, to me, it's, well, that's another part of building high performance teams. It's that open communication and talking to each other, and saying those things. So we're going to get into this topic.
All right.
It's not going to be a long episode, really. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see where we're at when we get done.
Yeah, we'll see where we go.
Building high performance teams is a multifaceted process that involves setting clear goals. Okay, so there's one of our things we're going to talk about. Creating a culture of trust is another thing we're going to talk about. We talked about it last episode. And psychological safety, which that's part of the clear trust. I'm sorry, that's number 2. Still number 2. And fostering effective communication and collaboration. All right. That's where we're going to get into. Setting clear goals, creating a culture of trust and psychological safety, and then fostering effective communication and collaboration. Those are the areas we're going to hit upon. When you're thinking about building high performance teams, this could be a team that you're coming into and you've got to get them to a certain level, or it's you starting from the ground floor and you got to bring people in to build that team. Either way, you can use these 3 areas to kind of help you. I'm going to start right off the bat with the setting clear goals. All right.
All right.
So clear goals are crucial for driving performance and moving the organization towards its long-term vision. One of the things that you learn throughout, I know I've learned it through my degree programs, but also in the Army, they talk about it. And even when I went to the pre-command course, which is up at Leavenworth, they talk about building a vision, right? A vision is clear goals. It doesn't say specifically, this person will do this and it'll equal this. What it says is, as an organization, we want to get here. And that's kind of where the clear goals comes in. It's like, okay, so if I want to be an outstanding organization who provides good service to my customer through open communication and thought-based performance, blah, blah, whatever. Like, it's kind of giving me the keys to success, but it doesn't give me every little detail, Like, how often, James, have you've had a commander's intent and it was so clear, it's like, I know exactly what I'm doing the entire time.
Yeah. Well, I think I've been fortunate. I've been pretty good about having that, but I also think I've been very fortunate. So
we're good leaders.
Yeah, I think I've had some where I knew what they wanted. Again, I didn't do it first certain time, but I have worked with a lot of officers, and usually I get to know them pretty well and know, like, this is what they're trying to get after with this thing. So, so I think I've been actually pretty lucky in that way.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, like, I could almost tell you, like, I don't think you have to be a first sergeant to do that. Like, I think you're right. Like, it's like, what's the, and it could be in a civilian side too. It's like, the manager, like, are you the subordinate to that manager? And if so, like, do you know what is expected of you in that organization? Like, knowing that knows where you're going. If I'm just coming in, and that's the other thing. Like, Simon Sinek talks about, like, working with the next generation, right? The millennial. Well, I'm not part of millennial, I don't think, but it doesn't matter. Working with Generation Z, whatever it is, like, working with that next younger group. They may not be dedicated to the organization for years to come. However, it's like they're dedicated at what they're doing now. And the way they become dedicated to what they're doing now is knowing why. Why am I doing this, right? If I'm moving a box from X location to X location, well, why am I moving it? Like, is my effort going into this for a reason, right? Well, maybe I'm moving this box from here to over there to help pack it up and ship it out, at a faster rate. I don't know, but it's kind of where my mindset goes with that. And it's another idea behind it is, these goals, these long-term vision goals, they provide a common focus. So it's a group. We're all focusing our attention in one direction, right? They align the team members, preventing competition among the team, right? I like to reference that to the group that I'm working with now, the other sergeant majors, right? Within this brigade, we have become. So I didn't know them before the academy. Right. I never met any of them. I didn't know of them. I didn't know them or anything. During the academy, I barely knew. Like I knew one of them. Like we met early on. The other two, I seen them once, maybe once.
Right.
So I didn't know them. And then I was still at Cavazos at the time, and when I found out I was coming here, the one who was here, one of them who was here, he actually came to this location first of all four of us. He came here first. He actually started a chat group for us before I even came here. And then I started to see, the making of pancakes, whatever you want to call it, the making of sausage, whatever you want.
Sausage.
Right? You can make sausage. I like making pancakes. You know what I mean? That's my family. We like pancakes. But that was that whole creating the high performance team. I think that was the start of it, because now we're communicating before I'm even here, before I'm even in the position, before two of us are in the position. Two of us were still waiting to get here, So he'd already kind of and I saw that forming starting to happen. So much so, yesterday morning, we all get together. We all jump in one of our rides. we all go down to this place that's pretty cool. It's called Locks Chicken and Waffles. Love it. I love. I like to judge a place on their chicken and waffles, and they had excellent chicken and waffles. So if anybody out there that wants to try it in the Savannah area, go try them. Very good. So we're there. We have our breakfast together. Then we hop back in that vehicle. It's raining, by the way. We go down to the farmer's market and we walk in the rain together. Just walking from booth to booth. And it wasn't like heavy rain. It was like, it's a drizzle, but we chose to do it. Right. And then we get back in the vehicle and we head over to this meat market. Right. And I found some really cool duck bacon, and some other person found some like sausage that they wanted. Another person found this, and we spent that time together. And then we came home. Right. We all went in our separate ways. And I sent out a message like probably a few hours later, because me and my family had to go do other things. Sent out this message like, hey guys, I really appreciate that. My wife and I enjoyed our time together doing some adulting. And they all sent the same type of message back. And it's like, to me, like there's a clear goal here, and we don't even realize it. The clear goal is we want to work as a team towards the shared goal. Right. We want to work as that team. Now, I mean, I know that was a long story to kind of explain how that was, but that's what it was. I mean, James, you've been a part of some really good teams. I remember your time at 563rd before we shut it down, the 159th. Right. I remember that time you had that SSA, and you guys kind of brought something together there. Right. You want to explain what you thought it was like?
Well, we were doing operations in Afghanistan, retrograding stuff back to the United States, and it was a unpleasant task. But we knew what the goal was.
Yeah.
And they worked hard and especially when I was on night shift. So night shift knew every day, here's your goals. Here's the things you need to do tonight. Mm-hmm. Now, you're either going to work till 04 or mission complete. If you're done the work for the night, you could be done at 2, 3. Well, they got so proficient at what they were doing and trying to meet this goal that it started turning into like we were going to midnight chow and we were done for the night. I'm thinking, okay, best case scenario, these guys are done by 2 a.m., processing everything they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to work till 4. It's only 2 hours. So now, you got to go back to that fear, that healthy fear. But I would make the decision, be like, all right, well, I mean, if you're done everything, let's clean up, let's get out of here. Yeah. Because why keep you, again, we talked about in a previous episode about wasting their time. But they were outperforming anything, I thought. So then we said, okay, let's take this person who's not performing on the day shift, put them to the night shift, take this person off the night shift, put them on the day shift. I said, all right, well, now that's going to impact my ability to meet our goals. Yeah, it does for about 2 or 3 days. And then right back in it. There's a famous model by Tuckman. It's the team building, forming, storming, adjourning, there's like 5 components to it.
Yeah.
And that goes into it. Like, yeah, for a few days, we took a step back. We were working later, maybe work a full shift. But then we were right back into like 12 to 01, and we were done for the night. So,
Yes.
setting that goals, telling them this is what you get. If you went off early, when I was a young sergeant, I would write on my board every day. I would come in first, go home task. And you would be surprised how hard they work to achieve those go home tasks. And it was a great dilemma for me was that, oh my gosh, they finished so early. Like, if I release them, the commander, the first sergeant finds out they're going to have a fit that I'm releasing them at 1400. But I gave them this huge list. I was like, there's no way. And they were doing it. But just seeing those goals, visualize this way I need to do, knowing what your payoff is.
What you just said there. What you
Yeah.
just said there. Very next thing I was going to bring up. Research indicates that when you write out a goal, 80% of the time they complete that goal.
Yep. And way too fast.
80% of the time. In your case, it looks like they were doing it all the time. I think it just took time for them to first understand, oh, he means if we do that, we get to lead. Yeah. 80% of the time. Also, involving team members in setting their own goals and the group's goals increases their commitment to these goals. So how many times did you set those goals and you included some of the other leaders too, Yeah.
And you get to those NCOs who are on my night shift, who I'm very good friends with one of them now. She's gotten out the Army. But you involve them in those decisions like, hey, is this reasonable? Yeah, but we could also do this. Okay, add it to the list. There's your go home task. I love to go home task. Even as a soldier, I love seeing it coming in and be like, there's my task. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you think about it too, how are you building a high performance team? By including others in what the team needs to do. You're literally allowing them to express their opinion. And we'll talk about that communication and collaboration in a moment. But you're allowing them to express their opinion in their goals that they need to do. Like, it's okay. It's okay as a leader. And that's, I think what oftentimes we get stuck behind that idea as a leader that you have to have the answers or you have to provide all the answers to a problem set. No, it's okay to say, you know what? I'm not quite sure where we need to go, how we need to get there with this. I just know we have to get here. So you're you're literally saying, I don't know what's going to take to reach this goal. I need your help. Goal clarity contributes significantly to team performance. So you're creating team performance off of the clear goals that you're setting. Goal-oriented leaders motivate their teams by setting clear objectives and rallying their teams to achieve them. So when you're setting your goals on that to-do, go home, it was a lot of time we call it go home criteria. You're creating that idea that if I get all that done, because I know what it is, I'm going to help out because maybe Snuffy has to do X and then Jim Bob has to do Y and then Teeter does Z, right? Well, what if the first two are done? Maybe they're going to help the last one to get theirs done, Now, we all know that in a team situation, sometimes you do have some that slack off and be like, oh, well, if I just go slow, everybody help me when I'm getting done.
Yeah.
As a leader, that's our job to notice that.
Yeah.
As a leader, it's, looks like everybody, okay, all of you go ahead, go home. You're good. I need you to finish your goal.
Yeah.
And then you can roll. And then you're like, oh, so now I'm going to hold you accountable. Right. I think that's a big part of it. But setting clear goals. You mentioned something in the LAPS episode talking about SMART goals. What do we,
yes.
What is this we're talking about? I know we did an episode on it.
We did an episode. Go back and look at our episode on SMART goals. So these are just like, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and
Mhm.
time-based goals.
Mhm.
That's SMART. There's other ones. If you go Diamond Dallas Page, DDP Yoga, he does SmackDown. He talks about the importance of writing. That's really what he adds to it is writing them down. Do it, own it, write it down now. That's down. But anyway, but it just gives you those things that are important because you can say, well, I want to, I want to clean up my garage.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if I clean up my garage now in March, or if I clean up my garage in December, I still clean my garage. I still met the goal. But now if I say I need to clean up my garage by next Sunday, now I
Right.
have a timeline to hold myself to, right?
Mm. Yes.
Um, so those are the things like I actually we have a dry erase board in our garage because my wife likes to enter and exit through the garage, and we can write stuff down, goals for the day. We write down our schedule, that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
anytime you write something down, I just think it increases your level of accountability uh,
Mhm.
to yourself, much less to her. Because then if I write a goal on that board and my wife comes in and is like, huh, he was supposed to have that done by yesterday. Hey, did you get this done? Oh no, I didn't. I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah.
Um, Not to be confused with a honey-do list, but yeah, so yeah, that's where we get in with SMART goals, though. The simple, easy, make it
Mhm.
specific, make it
Yeah.
measurable, make sure it's something that you can actually do.
Yeah.
Is it relevant to what you're trying to do? And give it a timeline to it.
Yeah, I think the time-based part to me that's the key. That's the keys to
Yeah,
success. Obviously, all of the pieces are, but it's like, all right, when can we expect this to be done? And I think in setting those clear goals, say in an organization, creating a vision. So a vision is kind of a long term thing, right?
yeah,
It's kind of saying, hey, as an organization, we're going to get to this point, right? Or we want to be seen as such. Um, but in that organization, you have multiple managers, leaders, followers, CEO, whatever. You can build small baby steps because you can't expect to go from low all the way up here and be the number one in whatever field you are overnight. You have, and you will lose people in the organization if you don't build upon the small victories, right? The small wins,
yeah.
the small goals to kind of baby step it up. The road to war that we spoke about. It's a you're getting to a point and you're building upon what you already did. And I think that falls back on our last topic of basically identifying the areas of strengths and weaknesses and the feedback recognition, right? I think
Yep.
those are some big things. You can use those as a leader. You can use waypoints as a leader for providing feedback, providing recognition. Once a week, are you going around saying thank you? Right? At what point? When's the right time to say thank you to everyone? Are you telling everybody thank you for showing up on Monday? Are you
Yeah.
walking around on Wednesday telling everybody, hey, thanks, we're almost through the week. I can't believe everything we've done so far. Let's keep going. Or on Friday, are you saying, hey, thanks for the hard work? Thanks for the wonderful week. Or are you doing it all three times? Right? That could be a small goal as a leader to help provide the support and the feedback and the recognition that people need. To become high performance teams. That's kind of all
So
I had on
real
there. Yeah.
one thing you hit me with just so I have one of the subordinate leaders that works for me, and he'll tell you up front. Sorry, if you don't give me a timeline, I'm not going to rush. So, for example, we have things we do every quarter of the fiscal year. He knows I have 3 months to accomplish that thing. Now, what I do, so let's use our SMART goal. So there's 4 classes you got to do in the quarter. So I tell my folks, hey, in the first month of the quarter, you will have 2 classes complete, specific, measurable,
Mm-hmm.
attainable, relevant because it's got to get done, and a timeline. In the second month of the quarter, you'll do the other two, right? Again, SMART goal. But what about the third quarter? Well, we all know Murphy is a thing
Oh,
and things happen. The
yes.
third quarter is where I catch those that didn't get the training done before, right? And say, hey, I know you got sick and you missed a week, but go ahead and do it, knock it out now. It's for those circumstances. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking it down, the task of conduct these 4 classes. I'm giving them 2 months to do it of 3, with my 3 as kind of my alibi month. And now they understand. And ever since I did that for that particular leader, never misses a deadline. He used to miss them all the time because he would procrastinate. Now he's in his 3rd month and he completely forgot about it. And then I got to beat him up about the training the last day of the quarter. So just kind of something to keep in mind when we talk about SMART goals and goal setting is it really is a road to war, like we said, Brian.
I think part of that too. So I grabbed this book behind me. It's the Leadership Tactics, and basically FM02, Jocko Willink, Leadership Strategy and Tactics. And I want to say it's around page 262. And it actually goes into 264, but really because I said so, right? So goals have to be associated with a why. You know, I think if you give somebody a why we're setting this goal, like you giving that end state of what we're seeing, why we're doing it, I think people are gonna be more conducive to that goal. But if you're one of those leaders or influencers who says, because I said so, I'm gonna do just like I did this book. I'm closing that chapter and I'm moving on because on to the next. Because all you did was it said that my thought process, my opinion on it does not matter. I don't care. And that's kind of, like that's kind of closing that door. That's that closed-minded leadership. That's that fixed mentality that we talked about. So I would tell people, I warn you, when you're setting those goals, make sure like you can include them in it, but also include the why, what the justification, what the end state is. It'll help them accept it a little bit better, a little bit easier. Just like with change, right? You give them the why. They're like, it's kind of like swallowing a pill. Do you want, something to use, or are you just going to swallow it without any water? Some people can do that. Some people can't, right?
You're just achieving a buy-in.
You're getting a buy-in, and that's part of setting clear goals, is understanding as a leader that you're not going to get what you think you are from it if you don't try to get buy-in. I promise you. I've seen it. I've done it myself. I've been on both sides of it. And it's kind of scary when you think about, like, people think they can literally just transplant their mindset into somebody else. And it's like, no, you're not going to do that.
That's not going to work.
You ready to move on to this, create a culture of trust and psychological safety?
I mean, this really feeds into a couple points from our previous episode. Creating a culture of trust and psychological safety. Psychological safety is a shared feeling that it's okay to be open and honest in a group setting. This is a good way to look at, like, overcoming that fear of failure we talked about last episode. It's crucial for leaders to foster a psychologically safe workplace where team members can make mistakes, learn, grow, and be recognized for their good work. Now, very early as an NCO, I wasn't great at this because I would, if a soldier did something that just didn't make sense, I did not stop his peers from cracking jokes at his expense. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of allowed that banter, that back and forth. As you get older, of course, you realize, like, that wasn't the way. Might have been hysterical, but you're really stopping them from wanting to, do things. You're really hurting their confidence, and that doesn't help you to build your team. It hurts the trust in you as a leader when you allow that. So that's a hard lesson I had to learn. We talked about, like, when you fail at something, it's an opportunity to learn. Trust is a dynamic and delicate part of any relationship, including professional ones. Again, we talked about, Brian, how hard it is if you lose the trust of your peers, your seniors, your subordinates, how hard it is to get that trust back because you violated it in some manner. So we talked about that, like, how dynamic and delicate it is. And then a culture of psychological safety builds team members' confidence that their voices matter, even if their voice goes against the grain. Trust builds across an organization when psychological safety is met with consistency. This is a big one to me, because you want your team members to feel like their voice matters. But if you're constantly getting their feedback, getting their input, and you're going, yeah, that's great, we're going to do it my way. And you and I both work for a person like that, that it's like, yeah, this is my role. You're just here to make sure everything runs the way I think it should run.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, you have to listen. Now, sometimes they're going to say things that you just don't agree with. Sometimes they're going to say things and you're like, yeah, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's that back and forth that builds the team, right? Like they're like, okay, he doesn't just ignore everything I say. And you want to, so what I find too, big part of going through the instructor course, we learned about questioning. You really have to be able to leverage effective questions, because sometimes you'll have a person who everything they say, you're really like, that doesn't make sense at all. But if you have effective questioning, you can get them to the point where that thing that didn't make sense now makes a little more sense. Now they're thinking more dynamically and creatively, but you're really driving them to it through your questioning techniques, which then helps to culminate that culture of trust, that psychological safety that is really, really important in building your team. You want them to feel like part of it. You want the buy-in. You want them to feel like it's okay. So that's just kind of where I go with the creating the culture of trust and psychological safety. What do you think, Brian? I know you're excited about this one. I know you're excited about this one.
Yeah. Well, because I like to think about the circle of safety. And that's a Simon Sinek thing, book right there. Leaders eat last.
I really got to put some books behind me, I guess.
You do. You need to. And it doesn't mean I get all my knowledge from books. I get my knowledge from all kinds of things. So open and honest in a group setting. You mentioned that in the beginning. My question is, when and where do we feel like we can be open and honest in a group setting? Oh my goodness. What's that? Daily Stoic.
I have a book.
There you go. When do we feel like we can be open and honest in the group setting? And what's the right group setting, right? Is it, I'm just going to, an entire battalion there? We can just talk about, hey, this is how I feel. It could be as simple as somebody saying, hey, I don't think we should have to go 9 months to another country. I'd rather just stay home with my family for 9 months and not get paid. I don't think that's the conversation you want, right?
No. I think you got to understand your audience, right? You got to understand your audience, and you got to understand what you're trying to get. Like,
yes,
if we're having a technical discussion on changes to an aircraft, I know nothing about an aircraft. Why would you invite me there? Right now, if you wanted to know the challenges of getting this part for an aircraft, okay, now you want your logistics folks there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But how to install said part, or we're having an issue with installing this particular part, that's not something you want to have a discussion with me about. So I wouldn't be the audience. And I think you got to understand the scope of what you're trying to get. Just, sorry, you got me going. I got a book now. I'm on it.
You're the Daily Stoic. He's bringing us stoicism from the best. No, but
that's the best I had.
I think, and mine was a question to you in a sense, and you were able to answer the way that I felt too. But at the same time, it's like, are you also trying to create turbulence? Are you trying to create a non-conducive environment with the questions that you're, or the open, honest feedback that you're giving? Are you trying to get them to change ways in something? Or, because personally, James, I think you may relate to this. The easiest way to not get something changed is to try to make somebody look stupid in front of everybody else.
Absolutely. And some people thrive on wanting to do that. And I've never understood the purpose of it. But you do know, like I know, there are leaders who absolutely thrive on trying to make you look stupid in front of your peers or subordinates, which is ridiculous. But
they're in a leadership position, but they're not really leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of, the when and why my type of thought process is on it, because and it's not just the leader, it could be a subordinate too in the same
Yep.
situation. Like, are you reading the situation here? Is this the right time? Is that the as I've heard before, is this the hill you want to die on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that what you're going for? And it's knowing when to bring up situations, or is it, hey, when we're done, do you mind if I speak to you on the side? I want to run some things by you. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I see a lot more meetings doing that than I have ever seen now. Right? Like, a lot of times I'll have, whether it be a commander or a first sergeant, a staff member, and they'll be like, hey, Sergeant Major, can we speak on the side about that? I like to run this by you. And in most cases, I'm going to listen wholeheartedly, because I want to know if there's something we can do to make our organization better for our customers and our juniors,
Absolutely.
in a sense. And then you brought up another thing. You brought up this part, and I'll read it verbatim. Members can make mistakes, learn, grow, and be recognized for their good work. I think that's growth mindset, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think it is. I
And
100% think it is. We talked about it
last
last
episode,
episode. I
yeah,
do think that it's
yeah.
part of that. Like,
Yeah. And there's no way in the world that we started another episode in the same day wearing different clothes, from
no,
we change. I mean, there's no way we would just go and, we're going to record 2 episodes in one day and change clothes.
no.
No, not at all. Growth mindset. Trust of psychological safety builds team members' confidence. You know what I
Yeah.
want? I want my team members confident that they were going to do the job that they set out to do. I want my team members confident that when they speak to me, who I may be or may not be in charge of something, that we're going to come to a good resolution of any type of situation. I want them confident that they know when they make a choice, it's the right choice.
Yeah.
I need, like, that's called a high performance team, because now what you're doing is it's saying, hey, we threw it out there. We set the goal. This is the goal. Here's this little small goals. Now you can go run with that. You can make the decisions you need. You can allow that process to take place. And you know what? Now me, if I'm in that leadership position, what do I get to do? I get to go focus on something else, because I don't have to worry about that. That's high performance teams, right?
Yep.
That's you said last episode, you talked about the land nav and getting us a non-commissioned officer involved, to where they were running it themselves. Like, now, and how you did the process of, okay, we're going to have somebody teach it. We're going to have other instructors around moving and getting involved. And now we're going to have them taking notes, and they're going to put that into the next course and stuff. So that's what we did. You created a high performance team by creating a group setting. We just talked about that open and honest group setting, right? Now, did you talk about the flaws of the way that was instructed in front of the students? I would think
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But we do something else that we used to call it the hot wash. I don't know if they call it that still.
Just brought it back this class.
Right. And that's where we get the chance, as
they brought it back.
All the instructors, we get together, we talk about the points, right? And my first time doing it, I didn't like it. I think it was because of who was in charge of the place we worked at the time, and what it got turned into. It was no longer a hot wash. It was no longer I didn't feel like it was a learning environment. I felt like it was more of like a blasting whoever was messing up.
It was an attack.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. So for those of you out there to understand a hot wash, it's really like you complete this event, and what you're doing is you're trying to get all the information out as fast as possible, like you're washing it in hot water, right? So everyone knows what's going on in this organization, right? And I'm guessing that's probably one of the things that could have been talked about, or was talked about in the said hot wash, was, okay, we've changed. We had to incorporate this. We did this. This worked. This didn't work. What we're going to incorporate now is X to make sure this, and this.
Yeah.
But that, to me, that's that growth mindset. That's creating that confidence in people, right?
100%. Yeah.
And then finally, you brought up builds trust, man.
You got them all backwards.
You got them on backwards. Are you hearing me in the wrong ear? You have no idea.
I thought so. Maybe not.
Yeah. You just have to look and see if there should be a little R and a little L, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I think mine's rubbed off. I don't even know. I feel it now. Yeah. But you brought up trust because that was what that was talking about,
Mhm.
culture of trust. And what we talked about in the last episode was about establishing trust within a team is essential. And why do we say that? Because leaders show how genuine care for their team member can act in their best interest to foster a trusting environment where a growth mindset can thrive. I wanted to bounce back to the growth mindset because I feel like this really jumps onto that because to build a high performance team, I think the word in there is build growth, build growth. And I think about that whole trust and genuine care, right? In most cases, being a good human, genuine care, you're doing it because you're doing it for people. You're not doing it for money. You're not doing it for some type of, I don't know, accolade. Usually if you show genuine care towards a person or people, there's a different feeling to that. And you want to do it more, and you want to do it more, and you want to do it more, and you create a trusting environment, and the circle of safety. Simon Sinek says it, man. He's like, if we're all pointed in at each other, right? Who's looking for us on the outside? So now we have to create our own little circle of safety, and now I got to be constantly. I'm constantly swiveling around because I don't know where I'm going to get attacked from, right? I think in the book and also on his video, he talks about it as like that was started when people were living off the land and we had to worry about, is a bear going to attack us, right? Or I shouldn't have to worry about if a fellow tribe member is going to stab me in the back. Instead, what it is, we can all look out for the bear coming into our tribe to protect the tribe, right? So that's that circle of safety. And I think creating that psychological circle of safety is, seeking feedback from people through setting goals, through a growth mindset that's going to allow us to have that circle of safety, because it's like we feel safe in the environment we're in. Now we're going to grow. We're going to get better. We're going to build. So that's kind of my thought process on that, man.
I mean, circle of safety, Brian. All I can think of is Stone.
Is that not?
And the foxholes. Think about the foxholes, right? You know how it is. We put them in a circle, everything in the middle, the command post that's in the middle, right? Safe, because obviously it's worn, but that circle is designed to protect the middle. So when you say circle of safety, that's the only thing I could think about is Bastogne.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's funny. It's right there. I want to say during that particular conflict of that war, weren't they being almost circled?
They were. It was a siege.
Right?
Yep. It was a salient.
And they didn't have to worry about being shot from the inside. You know?
That was coming from the outside.
Yeah. So I would definitely say that played a big point in their psychological warfare that they were going through.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then what, Patton came out?
Well, 101st doesn't want to admit it, but Patton saved them.
Yeah, okay, whatever. No, but it is. That's probably one of the best points right there you brought up, is like that's an actual like real life situation in battle that people had to depend upon one another to survive.
So the other thing, we culture of trust, Brian. We talked about trust during the growth mindset. We talked about trust again. Again, that trust is so vital to what we do, in an organization. And that's where that, like, when you think about Bastogne, right? Like, if you remember the scene from the actual show, there's one in a foxhole, he's asleep, and the other one is on guard.
Yeah.
How much trust is that you're going to stay awake while I sleep? And I'm going to trust that so that I don't get killed. Like, that's a trust. Then you think about, okay, now let's go to the next foxhole. Now I trust that foxhole, that dude is awake in that foxhole too. Because, intersecting fire, all that trust is so critical to that team. So I think that's why it keeps coming up as we move through this material, as well as the episode we recorded a long time ago on the growth mindset.
That was so long ago. Yes. I think, and I could always reference also, talk about face. He goes, I remember a specific story in that particular book where he talks about he caught multiple people sleeping
Yeah. In the
in their
beginning.
foxholes.
Yeah.
Yes. And um, I'm pretty sure they wish they never fell asleep in their foxhole.
I'm pretty sure he put a 45 to one of them's head.
Yeah. 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 I mean, he didn't hurt him. Well,
Right.
physically, yes, in a sense. But yeah, it's like they're creating like if you can't be here to protect us as a team, then I don't need you here and I'll get rid of you. And that could,
Yeah.
and if you think about it in a metaphoric way, that could be like, hey, if you're not here for the team, then maybe you don't need to work here anymore, right? And
Yeah.
it's identifying that, or and obviously, Jocko talks about it in Extreme Ownership, and I've heard him on his podcast talk about there's no bad leaders, no, there's no bad teams, it's just bad leaders. And I think one of his episodes he went into and he talked about it was question he was doing a Q&A, and somebody said, well, what if somebody is just a bad teammate? And he said, well, in that extreme case, because we can't get them to fall in line, then we just have to get rid of them. Like
Yeah.
they can't be on that team anymore, obviously.
I mean, sports does it, right?
Why not?
How many times have you heard, hey, that guy is a locker room cancer? And
Oh,
they just, hey, they release. I'm going to tell you, I love my Washington Capitals. They have a player. He's had substance abuse problems. He's had to leave the team. He came back to the team. They waived him. He didn't clear the waivers. And then they had to let him go. They let him go
mhm.
for next to nothing because it's not worth messing up the team for one perceived bad apple.
No, no.
So,
Yeah, you're
no.
right. That's why,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good podcasts out there with sports people, and I'm big into football, and that's a conversation that I've heard multiple times on different ones about like when there is a bad apple in that locker room, the atmosphere changes and you start seeing on the outside. And I think it was one episode. I think it was Pat McAfee show, actually, the one I heard where he made the comment. He said there's something going on in that locker room right now.
Yeah.
There's something bad in that locker room that shouldn't be happening because X, Y, and Z is happening and we're all seeing it. And I'm like, that's a good observation, And how often can we do that in our own organization and say, hey, there's something going on there that shouldn't be going on. We got to fix that.
And it's the will to stand up and say, all right, Dennis Rodman, Hall of Famer, greatest rebounder of all time. A
Yeah.
locker room problem. And it was Phil Jackson, I believe, when he was with the Lakers that suspended him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
suspending one of my better players because I just can't have him
Yeah.
damaging my team. So it's having that ability and to recognize it and say, you know what, this is terrible. I hate to do this, but I'm going to suspend.
Yeah.
That could hurt the team, but I
Yeah.
think it's really going to be more helpful than anything. San Antonio, part of the reason they got rid of Rodman is he was such a distraction in that locker room when he was dating Madonna and he started with the hair dyeing and all the wild behavior. So you got to be able to say, yeah, this guy is one of the greatest to ever do it, but he's causing more damage than good.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I couldn't agree more, man. Let's move on to our final major point before we kind of wrap everything
man,
out.
this is a good one.
And this one, it's like I don't think we've talked about it enough, but we've all
Really?
but we've talked about it almost every episode, it seems like. Fostering effective communication and collaboration. Effective communication is an essential skill needed for teamwork and collaboration. If you're not talking, you're not getting anything done. I'm sorry. You just like
Okay.
I guess there's a difference between today's environment and say 1940s, 50s, maybe working on the assembly line for Ford,
Yeah.
right? Because all you had to do is like in that company, you just showed up to your little position and you made sure the wheel went on, or
Yeah.
you made sure the bolts went on, or you made sure the seat went on. And that's all you had to do. Like you just had to train me in the beginning, but you didn't have to show me anything else. I was able to do that day in and day out all the time.
So I actually worked at a place, I think it was called Auto Systems, and they made mufflers for GM. And literally, my only job was to put a baffle on, put a pipe on, push the button, and it went in the machine. And I would just do that for hours. And it was just a component of what was going to become the muffler. But that was my, I was a cog in the wheel. And that's all I cared about was that thing. I didn't talk to nobody. I just sat there all night long, literally all night long, Brian. 8 hours of just, but that's that what you're talking about, how that was my part of the team. But there's no communication. So I don't know how many mufflers the team turned out in the night. I can tell you how many of those pieces I turned out in the night, but I don't know how successful the team was.
Why did you leave? Why did you stop doing it?
Because I was working there as a temp, and it was terrible. I was burnt. I didn't know how to weld. It was a whole thing. I was an immigrant.
There was you were in Canada.
I was in Canada. I was a brand new immigrant. And I was working really, really hard and not making a lot because I was a temp. So the agency takes their cut and then you get, but learning experience. I was also packing meat across the street at the same time on my days off. So
really? So, but with that, we're totally going to get in that story at some point. I can't wait to hear about making mufflers and packing meat, right? That's what you do. But there was, I guess there would be a point, like if you were offered like a full-time position there, maybe a management position there, like how much would the communication or the goal setting that we talked about, or the circle of safety, how much would that come into effect of maybe your decision of staying there? Like,
I think at that point I was just so young that it was the money, right? Like if they offered me the right money, I'd stay there.
Right.
It wasn't about the job satisfaction for me at that point. I did learn some things. It goes back to like you as a person. I said, hey, like I'm way ahead of what I need to achieve. Can you show me how to spot weld? Because if there was an error or a flaw, you could spot weld it. And so I learned how to spot weld a little bit on the side. But like when I tell you I sat on this stool with this big round thing and just baffle, pipe, push, baffle, pipe for 8 hours, it was. But yeah, I would have been more motivated by money than even a promotion.
So did you feel like that there was really no growth in that?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I was also a very negative human at the time. I felt like because I was American, I wasn't going to get any kind of opportunities. And it wasn't true, but I was very much in a woe is me mentality at that time. So.
Oh, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think if you say that in the same situation in any organization, like I think that says something to the circle of safety also. Like you don't feel secure in that job too, right?
Yeah.
That's another piece of it. I think communication in any organization, I don't care who you are. If you don't create some type of communication, your turnover and what you're saying, because you're in a temp, you're working through a temp agency for this job. I wonder how many more people worked in that same position you did for 10 years. I'm just curious, you know?
And it could be crazy.
It'd be crazy numbers, right? To know, and like, was there any growth? What's the communication with the organization? Do you get benefits? Do you not get benefits? What's the collaboration? You mentioned, hey, somebody will show me how to do a quick spot weld, but what point do you get to learn other parts of the job so you know why your job is so important to do it at your station, right?
Yeah.
Like you may have sent the product down the line 15 times and it was wrong, and the next guy's like, well, this guy's a freaking idiot, and you never knew why. I'm not saying they would say that about you. You are a mountain of a man, and
I was an angry human too, so
yeah. So then it turns into a fist fight. Who knows? It enables team members to share ideas, give feedback, and collaborate easily. Share ideas. Like I don't know how many different times that like we'd sit during an AAR or even during an operation or the planning process of an operation where all these ideas just come flowing in like crazy.
Yeah.
All these ideas, right? It's always the hard part. How do you action all those ideas? It's through that collaboration, man. Like there's a lot of ideas. I may not be the expert on how to do X, but there's somebody in that room that probably can figure it out. They're smarter than me, right? And that's I tell people all the time. Like somebody will come up to me, hey, I got a question. So I got an answer, but it not be the one you want because I'm not a smart dude. But it's that idea that you sharing ideas, you're giving feedback. We talked about it. We talked about that in the last show with a whole feedback and recognition, right? And then collaborate easily, right? If I feel comfortable in the circle of safety that we talked about, I'm going to want to work with you. We've been doing this podcast since 2018. I don't think I think the majority of why we don't do the show is reasons that are beyond our control in most cases. Now, there are a few times we both got lazy, like, hey, man, I'm just not awake today. Like we've had that.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, I didn't plan. I'm so sorry, man. Can we do it another time? Right? Like those are those times, because we got outside distractors. But in most cases, the reason why we didn't do a show was because life threw us a curveball and we had to do something else that was crucial to our family, our job. This is a hobby. We do it for free. We give it for free. I don't get paid. You don't get paid. I know, because if you did, I should be. But there are the things that, like taking care of my family, you taking your wife out, to, dinner or whatever, to celebrate an anniversary, or me celebrating another birthday with one of the kids. Like those are the things that are important, or driving my wife home because she misses her family. Like that's important to me, By the way, we'll be up that way around Easter. So I'll see you then.
I'll be here.
Yeah. Cause I got to bring you the coin, right? So you can replace something in the something.
In my bar.
Yeah.
It
exactly.
will go in a position of honor in the bar.
I can't wait. Actually, I'm going to bring you two different ones. I'm going to bring you an old 563rd one. I don't think you have. I have a bunch.
I don't.
Yeah, it's an old one. Open dialogue in the team promotes a healthy exchange of ideas and opens and boosts collaboration. Why do you think open dialogue works so well?
Bouncing ideas. So let's go back to last episode, Brian. I'm thinking about the hallway. I have my E7s, my Sergeant First classes, all in one hallway. This is the idea, is because they do bounce ideas off of each other. What do you think? Now, I had the one guy that everybody goes, close your mouth, you're an idiot. But the other 5 get along really well and collaborate well. I have walked into discussions in office and they're like, hey, can we go over something with you? We've been discussing it and this is what we think. Now I have all the people who are right below me, one office, one idea, well thought out. And you can see like different, what I like to see is you'll see different colors on the whiteboard. So that means Brian got up there and he added his thought on something. And then James got up there and added his thought. And then it lets you know like they're really working together. I think the idea of them being together really works. I think it takes a lot off my plate because they do come to me with usually real well-formulated ideas. If we're trying to figure out like how to get a Saturday that we were supposed to work, how to work the schedule, I shoot them the schedule before I publish the schedule so that they can provide feedback to me on the schedule. And then they talk to each other about the schedule and issues they see, And so I think that collaboration is just, it lets them bounce ideas off each other because they all come from, we talked about, you and I on the little break. I mean, between last episode and now, we talked about, I have sergeants first class who got promoted a year before they came to work there. I have sergeants first class who got promoted there. So their experiences are so vastly different. Then their military occupation. I have an 11 Bravo. I have an infantryman. I have a chemical guy. I have a truck driver. I have a 42 Alpha, an admin. I have a 92 Alpha, which is what I am. So you're getting all those different experiences. And they're coming together, and I think it helps them. And I think it helps them grow to learn from those other military occupation, the cultures that they bring to the table. So that's where that collaboration really, I think they thrive with it. They do very well with it. Watch them mess it up this week because I'm giving them too many kudos, but we'll give it to them.
Yeah, but you know what though? At the same time, you also have that faith, and I heard it, I hear it in the way you discuss things about that, like. If they did mess it up, they're going to recognize it and they're going to help each other get to where they need to be. right?
And they take it. They say, "Hey, I own that. I messed that up." I have
Yeah.
had several of them come in my office and say, "Hey, Soren, don't be mad at Staff Sergeant Schmugatelli. I'm the one that told them X, Y, and Z. I messed that up." So, and I think
Really?
again, Jocko, stream ownership. I like to see it. I think if they're taking the ownership of the problem and saying, "Hey, I created that," that's awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I had so many ideas flowing through my brain as you were saying all these things. Like you, it's almost like you were creating new thoughts, new collaboration on new ideas
I
on
mean, we do
better.
collaborate on this show a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so you brought up, and I feel like the team that I'm a part of with the other three sergeant majors, we that's the same thing. Like we have that open dialogue back and forth that kind of that boosts collaboration more because we
Yeah.
talk to each other more. Um, and then I wrote something on the back of my paper. I'm not going to share it right now because it's actually no, you can't see it. So my next LPD, I'm going to use. I love what you said something about a whiteboard and using different colors.
Yeah.
I I want to explain something as a process to that particular group of people, basically platoon sergeants, sergeant first class, staff sergeant. But I want to see what they think it means before I explain what it means. You know what I mean? Like I like that idea of like giving people like, all right, now you write something beside of it, and then you write something, to create that collaboration. Because at some point, maybe everything they write on there is the stuff that I'm forgetting, that I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about, right? As the leader of the
Yeah.
group, right? So I love that's awesome.
That's how we studied for MLs when I went to Master Leader course. That's how we did our reviews. They would put four subjects on four boards. You
Mhm,
would go to the board in your group. You would write everything you knew about this subject, and then
mhm,
we would rotate gallery wall. We would do the gallery wall, and then we would go to the next board. And the only difference is you would just change. You could change colors. So, like my group is red, so you know everything on all four boards written in red. My group wrote that group is blue,
mhm.
and then it lets you see kind of where the thought process is. But that is how we did our exam reviews in the Master Leader course. Is a
That's
gallery walk like that.
that's good. Gallery walk. I can't wait. So I'm gonna call it gallery walk. Let's
I'm here for
go.
you.
Yeah.
It's in the
Um,
critical thinking handbook, by the way.
it is.
It is.
I do. Yes, because that's one of the ways to use a little experiential learning. Um,
Yeah.
and then you mentioned,
I got you all over the place
yeah, you
now.
got, yeah. Oh, here we go. No, this is where I want to add. I want to throw it. So leaders play a crucial role in creating cohesive and high performing teams by fostering an environment of collaboration and teamwork. Why do you think leaders play that role? What do you think? I mean, I think I have an idea on that, but why do you think that?
Uh, so I think it goes to, for me, right? It goes to my experience is not the same as their experience. And so it helps
I,
me catch those things that's not how I was brought up in the army to think. I was brought up in the army to think, hey, I'm telling you do something, shut up, color, and go away. Not ask why, not. So now with these younger leaders, it lets me kind of see how they were brought up in the army to
mhm.
think. And I think that's where that comes in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kind of feel that way too. I also think like as leaders, we're people don't want to do things unless they feel like it's permitted.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like they feel comfortable once they're like, oh, that's okay to do that. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, why not?
Exactly. Like how often, not everyone has the whole I'll ask for forgiveness, then ask for permission attitude.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will ask for permission before they'll ask for forgiveness. I prefer to ask for forgiveness. Just run with it and be like, oh, you
Yeah.
mean I can't do that? Oh, my bad. Well, I did
Whoops.
it and it's way better now. So, no. But that's kind of that attitude. I think is you're kind of opening up to the entire group that it's okay. It's almost like you're giving that like unsaid permission. You're not saying, hey, you're permitted to do this, because that's kind of egotistical. I think it's a little bit
Yeah.
like you're putting yourself above. But what you're doing is you're creating that essence that, hey, this is good. What we're doing now, this is good. Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's do that. So I love that thought process. And the last point on here, we go into establish clear roles and responsibilities. So not only we're creating that fostering environment, we're also establishing some type of clear roles and responsibilities, and encourage open communication. Because not everybody can be in charge in the group. No, not everybody's going to be in charge. Like there's going to be people that's like, all right, you're the guy that's in charge of this. You're the gal that's in charge of this. You're the individual who's conducting X and got to report back to this person. Like you create that open communication so people know, okay, well, who am I reporting this to? Who am I letting, like you have to do that. And I think that's part of that whole effective communication. If we go back to the very top of what we talked about at the beginning of the show, was setting clear goals, right? So who's making sure that all these other little goals and all this other stuff is getting done? Well, there's people that are going to be in charge of doing that, right? Now, you may be in charge of one thing, I'm in charge of another thing, and Jim Bob's in charge of another thing. But to reach the overall said thing, all three of us have got to report back to Tom over here, right? Like that's communication, right? Or it's you're putting on baffles and stuff. You're moving it through the line. Like there's no communication between you and the next person, probably. Who knows? But and as I'm saying, like, how do you know you're doing the right thing unless we're communicating? We're creating some type of hierarchy. But that's kind of my thought process on that. I really feel like that fostering effective communication is the whole piece in just leadership. Like the majority of the time, your leadership failures always fall upon some type of communication error.
Breakdown. Absolutely. I think too, the one thing we've talked about before, so you're talking about establishing clear roles and responsibilities, right? So we know he's in charge of this project. Mm-hmm. She's in charge of that project, but there's always going to be them informal leaders. So just because I have you as you're my point of contact for that project, I still have people who are probably going to be valuable to you. It's up to you to identify that talent in them. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be informal leaders that are going to be like, yeah, I know you're in charge, but I'm going to help you. Here's what I've experienced. And when we identify people to be in charge, I think that's part of that talent management piece, is understanding this person is willing to take criticism. This person is willing to accept feedback from people in that group, even though they're in charge. This person's not going to come in and thump their chest and be like, I'm in charge. It's my show. They're going to listen.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of key to that whole roles and responsibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. You couldn't have said it any better. Leaders gain valuable insights in motivating, inspiring, and empowering their teams to achieve exceptional results by understanding the importance of all these elements. When you brought up the informal leaders part, like, how do I know who to motivate and inspire if I can't even recognize that? And we're going to have a show about informal leaders. Like, we're going to dedicate some time to that to help people understand how to identify who is an informal leader. What does that mean? Why? I think that's an important piece also in building that high performance team. What you just said, there's a lot involved in that. Motivated teams are more productive than their demotivated counterparts.
Right. That's
common sense. It feels like, but sometimes people don't realize that some people think they can just knife hand it, I guess. And that's what we call it, knife hand. Like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, get this done. They think that that's motivating, and it's like, nah, man, that really isn't.
It was in the 80s.
You just make me want to do less. Sorry. Yeah. If you treat me like a human, as a good human, I'm going to work harder for you. Like, this is the way it is. Because I don't want to let you down. If you're a good person and you're treating me good, I don't want to let you down. That's, leaders inspire and motivate their followers to achieve the shared vision, encouraging creativity, innovation, and collaboration. They create a sense of purpose. That's a good word in there. And meaning, fostering a positive and engaging work environment. Positive, being a good human. That's what I said, like
being a good human.
Yeah. I love that term. I'm going to keep saying it until all the soldiers around me think, man, he says that so much. Like, no,
they're already thinking.
Yeah, they probably do. And I feel comfortable with the idea that we're going to create a positive atmosphere. You know, we try to do it on the show. Our job on the show isn't to like point out all this crazy negative stuff and to focus on that. I think we did one on toxic leadership once. That was the one time we did, but most of our show is like about like how do we improve? How do we get better? You know, why? Because positivity. Everyone wants to be around positivity. Everybody watches all the negative stuff on the news and stuff because it attracts them. Like, oh, this bad thing. Oh, I can't believe that happened. You know.
Yeah.
So basically, in conclusion, building high performance teams requires a combination of clear goals, culture of trust and psychological safety, and effective communication and collaboration. Leaders play a vital role in this process, inspiring and motivating their teams to achieve exceptional results. So
exceptional.
Yeah, you think about it, right? So we said building high performance teams. And when I think of that, I think of a stair step. Exceptional is not baseline. Exceptional is up here. So I need to build my team in a stair step to get to the exceptional results. That's just it's like kind of like my little idea behind it because I like to visualize a picture when I say things. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. As closing, like as we get down to the last few minutes of this, what do you got for us, man? Closing thoughts.
Phil Jackson, my closing thought. Inspiring, motivating teams to achieve exceptional results, never been accused of cheating in any kind of form or fashion.
I feel like there was a little bit of a stab there.
Won several championships, two different franchises, played with two of the greatest, he coached two of the greatest players of all time, and was able to convince players to step back and share the workload. Listen, Michael Jordan could have scored 40 points a game, but he had to share the ball with Scottie Pippen. He had to share the ball with Tony Kukoc. That's the things that Phil brought is he got that buy-in into the system that they ran, the triangle offense. And he did it through inspiring and motivating to win championships. And, they won a couple in Chicago, a couple in LA. But yeah, so, all of that last little piece, it just Phil Jackson, high performance team.
It's funny. I did a quick search up, just Phil, 78. Right, 78 years old. 79 to 80 season. 4.1 points a game.
Oh, Phil Jackson?
Yeah, 1.5 rebounds a game.
Yeah. He won a championship.
0.8 assists a game. Field goal percentage, 63%. If I told you those numbers, you'd be like, oh, he was just, huh. But he became the coach of not just one fantastic franchise. Two. Like he won championship. Like there's an S on the end because he did multiple things. But if you think about his statistics, to say that season, 79 to 80 season, you'd be like, man, he was trash. Like he wasn't good. Like he made it to the NBA, yes, but he wasn't good. Like,
and I believe he won a ring. He won a ring as a player.
Oh, now you make me look.
New York Knicks in the early 70s.
Championship. Yep. 70 and 73, actually.
Yeah, he won with the Knicks.
But when you hear those statistics for that one organization, for that one season, you think, like, what was so great about this guy? But then he goes on, and a lot of seriously, is he out there playing with the team during those runs of the Bulls or at the Lakers? No. Did he have a star player? Absolutely. I mean, he had two. Well, so Jordan and Kobe, phenomenal. And then you also ended up having Shaq, and Shaq was, he's just an animal, right? Can't shoot free throws or anything. But when you think about it, like, it was the messaging, it was the ideas that he presented, it was the goals he was setting, it was creating that culture. He had to deal with Rodman. There was a point, and if you watch the whole Dynasty movie that they did, he talks about Michael saying, "What are you doing? Why are you letting him go to Las Vegas? Like, he's not coming back." And what happened? He didn't come back. And Phil was like, "We'll be fine. We'll be all right." Like, he was a salesman, Brian. The triangle offense is
designed to share the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But you have one of the greatest players of all time. Now, he still got his, but that offense, when they ran that offense, like they had to share the ball. Michael had to take a back seat to the good of the team. And it had to be Phil to sell him that. That's why he left Chicago when Phil left, because he didn't want to play for anybody else. So it goes into building that high performance team and that loyalty that he got from Michael Jordan because of who he was as a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think it's a good note to end on, kind of, it's that idea behind what Phil Jackson did for basketball and sense. Basketball, like that's what he did. Like who was doing the triangle offense before him, really? Who tried to, and it was something else. I would definitely say that if people were looking, obviously not every organization is going to be a championship basketball team or a football team or whatever. However, you can take the ideas and you can peel those back a little bit and think, okay, well, what did they do here? What were they doing to build this high performance team? Oh, well, they were establishing a system, process. They were using key people in key areas. And you try, exactly. Like, I'm a systems and processes guy. I really am. I tell people all the time. But I also requires people that are competent enough to do those systems, do those processes, right? With that being said, we talked about building high performance teams, James.
Brian.
If people wanted to express to us how they've built high performance teams or ideas that they've come up with that we could share with other listeners to create that culture within the instinctive influencers and spreading the message, how could they convey that to us?
Well, Brian, they can start by liking and sharing this YouTube video, subscribe to the channel. They could also join the Instinctive Influencers team by joining the Facebook page at 101 Influence. They can find us on other social media such as X and Instagram at 101 Influence, and just become part of our team as we move on for exceptional results.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And people may ask, like, why did you guys pick 101 Influence? Well, really, it was what was available at the time. And we were in the 101 together when we changed it. That's what we go back to. We look at the history of things, and that was where we were. We were influenced to create a podcast. And then it's like, all right, let's just stay with it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Hey, check us out. Thumbs up, whatever you need to. I enjoyed my time with you. As always, from now on, remember, don't wait until tomorrow to be exceptional today, please. Thank you so very much for listening. I am Brian.
And I am James.
Have a great day.